Do you think that Luigi Mangione killed the United Healthcare CEO?
I you know it every there's a it looks very suspicious. Everything look. Did you see when they were taking him from the car to the lockup facility? He was yelling that this is an insult to your intelligence.
Yeah.
Uh, what kind of a murderer? What kind of a murderer gets caught at a McDonald's by a McDonald's employee? Really? Get that really out of nowhere? A McDonald's employee eyeballs this guy, and they catch him, and he's got the murder weapon. The first thing you do when you shoot someone is you drop the gun. You get rid of the murder. He's carrying the murder weapon around. That's very suspicious. Did they also find him with a fistful of Saudi passports? Like they found on 9/11. Oh, look, we found another Saudi passport. And so it's there's certainly more than meets the eye to this story. I'll say that. And I'm certainly whatever the establishment says happened, I'm going to question, just like Seth Rich, right? So still, by the way, an unsolved murder which nobody seems to be investigating. Isn't that interesting? And you weren't allowed to question Seth Rich, right? And I did. I questioned the Seth Rich establishment narrative, and I got put in a hit piece in the Washington Post by Dave Weigel because, he's a tool of the establishment, Dave Weigel, and he put me in there and said that I was spreading the Seth Rich conspiracy theory. And he put me in an article right alongside pedophiles and racist and KKK people, because at that time they were trying to slander YouTube news people because we were a competition for the establishment. And they were trying to scare advertisers away. And Dave Weigel got this. He got an order to put Jimmy Dore in this article slandering YouTube people. And that's how he did it. And so I remember I was on a panel at the Young Turks with Ben Mankiewicz, who's the host of Turner Classic Movies, who is a founder of the Young Turks, who was on a panel with me. And so was Cenk Uygur. And they were not backing me up on the Seth Rich being slandered by Dave Weigel in the Washington Post. And I turned to them and I said, can you name me the last time a reporter wasn't allowed to ask a question about an unsolved murder in Washington, D.C.? And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Never. Just like you're not allowed to question Building 7 on 9/11, whatever, you're not allowed to question the vaccine. You're not allowed to question lockdowns or masks or where the virus came from, or you're a white supremacist. Turns out all those things were true. They weren't conspiracy theories. They were theories that were accurate. And so then all of a sudden, the FBI they lied and said they didn't have. People were like, hey, where's Seth Rich's computer? Let's find out what the guy was up to. Was he the guy who gave the download of the DNC server to Julian Assange? Because the story was it was Russia. Well, it wasn't. I debunked that on my show with Bill Binney. Bill Binney, who was the number one code breaker at the NSA for decades, and the FBI tried to throw him in prison too, but he's smarter than them, so he outsmarted them. So he came on and showed that there was no way that Russia hacked into the DNC server, which was the basis of the Russiagate conspiracy theory, and that it was, and so then the theory was it was Seth Rich, and that's why they killed him. And well, we were like, hey, let's look at the computer. The FBI 5 years later, 6 years later, after he's dead, says, oh, we're not going to release, we don't have his computer. And then it was proven that they did have the computer. Then they were like, well, we can't get at the information. It's locked. We don't have the passwords. We can't get in. Okay. They did. So then it was proven that they did have it. And then they said that the latest thing, even though a judge ordered the FBI to release the contents of Seth Rich's laptop, the FBI refused. They said, we're not going to release them for 65 years. And you immediately knew that it was true. It was all bullshit about Seth Rich. And that's why they couldn't allow reporters like me to ask questions about an unsolved murder, because they didn't want it solved. They didn't want you to know that who killed Seth Rich and why. And and still nobody wants to talk. Nobody's apologized. All the people who slandered me over it, nobody's apologized. The Young Turks, they haven't apologized for not backing me up and for doing a legit reporting on it, asking questions about an open murder investigation. So I don't know how we got on that, but if you're not allowed to question something.
I asked you about Luigi Mangione.
So if you're not allowed to ask, so if it becomes toxic to ask questions, that's when you know there's something to it. And there's something to it. What kind of, the guy's a valedictorian. He doesn't know that the first thing you do is you get rid of the murder weapon. You don't carry it around with you. It doesn't make sense.